It is Thursday, July 2nd, and you're watching the SIG podcast. Trust the process. It is our last show of the season, so we're going out on a bang. Free agency yesterday and still today. Signings are coming through. Major signings and major trades. We're going to break it all down. The Montreal Canadiens re-signed one of their top young players. Is it a good deal? I think it is. We're going to break that down as well. And so much more. It all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shayne here. Simon, the Snake Boisvert, joining me. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm a little bit sad that it's our last podcast of the season, but at the same time, it's going to be a welcome break for me because I think I did over 125 shows in both French and English over the season, plus, all the scouting and, so it's going to be good. I have Junior AAA training camp August 15th. So I'll have about 6 weeks to prepare for this and do other things than hockey with my life.
That will be fun and well-deserved break for you. Look, I want to remind everybody that this is not our last show ever. We will be back.
Yes.
It's just, we're taking some time off for the summer. There's not much happening. We'd kind of be scratching at topics at one point, and we kind of just want to enjoy our summer a little bit. But we will be back, end of August, early September. Around that time, we will let you know. Just follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. But, Snake, we do have one more show to get to. So, let's get to it. The Montreal Canadiens, we're going to start with them. They stay quiet on free agency day. And, personally, I'm a fan of that. Looking at the other contracts that have been handed out, I think it's a good thing that Kent Hughes did not partake in all of that. However, he did sign a pretty major deal, and that is Ivan Demidov for 8 years at a $9.15 million cap hit. He is now the second highest paid player on the Canadiens, the highest paid forward. But the cap is rising, and it seems to be rising every year now. So, Snake, what do we make of this deal?
Well, that extension is kicking in next year, not this season. So it's going to be 27-28. So at that time, probably that there's a good chance that Demidov will be worth the $9 million because very often when you sign players to a second contract, the first couple of years, you're sort of like paying for future production. Mm-hmm. But I think in Demidov's case, he's going to be a $9 million player, if not this year, next year. Yeah, I would think so. And then his value could rise to 11, 12, 13, 14 million dollars. We don't know yet, but it is a possibility. And if, let's say, because you have to consider these contracts, most of them in the history of the salary cap have worked out fine, those second contracts. Some of them haven't. Let's say it didn't work out fine with the cap rising and the 9 million figure, which is, I would say, quite reasonable nowadays. Even if he's only a 65-point guy, it won't hamper the Habs in the future. Correct. But if he's a 90-point guy or so, this contract looks like, you remember the Nathan MacKinnon second contract, where for 7 years he played for $6.3 million at the time.
Ridiculous.
And at some point he became one of the top players in the league. They took a chance because MacKinnon had a great rookie season, but he didn't really progress in years 2 and 3. So they took a chance, and MacKinnon also played it safe by accepting $6.3 million, because had he waited and signed, 1 or 2 year contracts, at some point he would have gotten probably a lot more. But this is the kind of contract. Now, one might ask, why is Bowen Byram getting 12 and Demidov is getting 9?
we'll get to that in
Yeah.
due time.
I think the thing with Demidov, it is a second contract. It is not a contract that he's getting, while he's approaching unrestricted free agency. But still, Kent Hughes is pretty good at negotiating these contracts, because the asking price could have easily been, for 8 years, 11 million or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also, I mean, Kent Hughes has reiterated the fact that they've built this internal cap structure, right, where they don't want players to take up a certain amount of the cap, type of thing. It's kind of hard to break down, but it's also a testament to Demidov himself, who's willing to maybe accept a little less in order to help the team win, because clearly this guy, that's all he cares about. I mean, he's on the ice July 2nd at 7 a.m. in the morning, he's nuts, right? So credit to him for accepting that. Credit to Kent Hughes and Dan Milstein for making that happen. I think it's a phenomenal deal. It will age very well, especially if the Habs can give him some help on that second.
It'll be interesting to see how other rebuilding teams handle the second contracts. I'm thinking of the Sharks. Celebrini, I think he's in a class by himself. But, the Michael Misas, the Will Smiths, the Sam Dickinsons, Stenberg at some point. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it, because the Canadiens really provided those teams with a template.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have one of the best cap situations long-term in the league right now, because there are not many future core players who are not signed yet. Page, Zarovsky, Reinbacher, Fowler, Dobesh. But really, the main guy from the first, let's call it, batch of players, and Bergevin did very well with the Suzuki contract also.
Hey,
when you think about it, he still has 4 years left. So, very good move by the Habs in extension, in the extension category. As for the UFAs, I'm sure you'll want to talk about what they didn't do.
That's it. They stayed quiet, did not partake so far. I mean, it has only been 1 day since free agency opened, but they've re-signed Alex Belzil and Capo Kakinen for the Laval Rocket.
Very good.
Excellent. And they make 2 minor additions in Samuel Poulin and Ethan Sampson, also likely for the Rocket.
Yeah, they have to replace, the Roy and Trudeau and these guys, that Tuck that left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Samuel Blais,
normal turnover for a AHL team. As for the regular free agency, the Habs have not been very active in the last 5 off seasons, because it's been 5 off seasons now for the Hughes Gordon. And here's my take on it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of signing unrestricted free agents, because most of these guys are in their 30s.
Yeah.
But I do think that, I would have probably stayed put. Okay, let me put it this way: I would have stayed put. But I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate here and trying to, make the discussion a little bit deeper into this. This unrestricted free agency thing is that at some point you do need players, and you need to take care of some needs. But then you have to ponder, are the needs that big or that obvious that you will be able to spend 5, 6, 7 years on a bad contract? Whereas perhaps at some point, an opportunity might come up. Either a guy that you can sign for the cheap who outperforms his contract, or make a trade. But even that is very difficult. I look at the prices paid for trades. I look at the prices paid for fourth line players, like AJ Greer. Love AJ Greer. Glad he got his money. One of a guy that I started following in midget AAA hockey, and I thought he's one of the top guys at his position in the league. But if you look at William Carrier signed for $2 million. 1 year later, Greer gets $4 million. So prices are skyrocketing, probably because of the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Cup with some great role players. Also, Florida had some great role players. So I think a lot of teams are realizing the importance of these guys, because in the playoffs, for some reason, your stars may be off, at least in one series or two, depending on how far you go. So it's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And at some point, I do think that the Habs will have to fill the holes. But when is it going to be a good opportunity? I'm really puzzled, because yesterday I would have been very tempted to give AJ Greer the $4 million that he wanted, or the 2.9 that Beck Mallenstein got. But do you really want 6 years of Beck Mallenstein? And that's my issue here. And also, are you aiming for the Cup next year? Are you aiming for the Cup in 2 years? When is your core going to be, let's call it, Cup ready? It's all things that are very hard, because you don't want to miss the boat either.
No.
Because I have friends I've talked to, like most of them agree that the prices are crazy. But they're also telling me, well, when are the Habs going to finish the job? If you see my point.
Snake, it's also, I think, looking around not only the Eastern Conference, but the Atlantic Division itself, it feels like almost every team is going for it.
Yes.
So in that sense, maybe it is not a bad idea to kind of sit back a little bit, let the other teams eat each other up, and then you know what, you're going into next offseason with no bad contracts. And now you can maybe maneuver around. You have the money, you have the flexibility. That might be the thinking here. But for every Habs fan, for every Habs fan that is freaking out that they're not making any moves, I understand that there might be a little bit of FOMO in there, like the fear of missing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That might be playing a role, and it's fun. I mean, we love when they make a move because we get content to talk about it. We love it too, but it's got to be the right move. It's got to be for the right player. It's got to be at the right price. And it's just a prediction that I'm making, but I don't think Kent Hughes is done. Far from it. Like, things will happen.
Yeah.
This is July 2nd. You know what I mean? Like, there's still so much time to make things happen. We see trades in August all the time. Don't worry. All right. Things will happen. Now, Snake, you mentioned the very high prices so far this offseason.
Yeah.
So let's look at a few contracts that have been signed. All right.
Yeah.
Let's start at the top here. And you mentioned this one. So not only do the Chicago Blackhawks trade the 4th overall pick for Bowen Byram, which is already maybe a questionable move, they sign him to a 6-year, fine, $12.5 million contract for a player whose best season was 42 points, might I add.
Yeah.
The
guy has reset the market. The guy has reset the market for offensive defensemen.
Cale Makar is through the moon right now. Like,
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
John Carlson getting 8.5, but it's only for 2 years. Although I think he's lost a step or two.
Yeah.
Rasmus Anderson, 7 years for 8.5. I think this is a little bit too long and too much for the type of player that he is. Jacob Trouba. And let's talk about Trouba and Nurse. Okay, Nurse was part of a trade, but he also has a hefty contract, one of the worst contracts in the NHL over the last 5 years or so. San Jose, you see, is at a point where they felt they had to do something because their defensive core was like horrible. And then, so you're thinking, okay, Trouba and Nurse, they're not without faults, these players.
No.
Obviously not. Trouba had a good season, but it really helped that he played with Jackson Lacombe last year. So who knows what's going to happen in San Jose. Darnell Nurse, he can be useful maybe as a number 4, number 5, but he doesn't have puck skills, and he does make mistakes with the puck. So this, and at 9.5 or 9.25 anyway, that's a lot of money. So you're thinking, okay, what could the Sharks have done? Would it have been better to trade, I don't know, Eklund and a pick for Bowen Byram and give him 12.5? I'm not so sure. I prefer Byram to the other two.
Yeah.
But then again, you need bodies on the blue line. Am I crazy about the fact that, they give up Makamadulin? I really thought that by getting, taking on the whole contract, the 9.5 or 9.25.
9.25, yeah.
1.25, I really thought that they would get an asset in return from Edmonton. Just like they did with Detroit a couple of years ago when they got Jake Waldman and they got a second round pick for taking on his contract. What is this? The Oilers have been looking to dump this contract for years, I would think. And they get a guy who can be a third pairing defenseman. Not a spectacular player, but I think he's going to be an NHLer, Makamadulin. I like his size. I like his skating. He can defend. So that was mind-boggling. That they take on the whole contract and they have to give up a player for him, which I think could have been a third pairing guy. So I know Nurse brings a lot of experience and I get all this. But here's my concern, just to conclude on the Shark signings. Trouba and Nurse, right now, who cares about the 9 million? They have to reach the floor.
Yeah, no, right now it makes sense.
Next year, there's going to be a Celebrini extension, Will Smith too. They're still going to be fine because the Logan Couture contract is going to be off the books and some of the retained salaries and the buyouts will be off the books. So I don't have a problem. Even year 3, I don't have a problem. But year 4, and this is where, at that time, Celebrini will be on his second contract. So will Michael Misa, Will Smith, Sam Dickinson, Ivar Stenberg, if he plays this year. Unless the cap really, really grows to, 130, 135 million, this could be problematic for the Sharks to have 18 million tied up to two guys in their mid-30s who, you know what, might be watching games from the press box at that time. Because they're like seat warmers now for Verhoff and Ryan Lynn and maybe some other guys. I do understand. It's not that there were many options. Either they were going to trade the farm for Zach Werenski or Bowen Byram. So I don't blame them for doing what they did. But at the same time, I think the fact that they got both of them, the Trouba signing, when I saw it, I could live with it. Because I'm thinking it's only 4 years. We had talked about it on the show. The important thing with Trouba was to go not to go 6-7 years. But on top of it, they add Nurse.
Yeah.
So they get 2 top 4 defensemen who are not necessarily, what they used to be. Or if they ever were. But especially Nurse. I think Trouba had good moments in his career.
Yeah, he just had probably his best season.
So I know a lot of people said that Greer dropped the ball, and to an extent he did. But at the same time, what were his options? Stay put and re-sign, Ferraro and Klingberg and Nick Leddy like he did last year. That's what he did last year. Yeah. He really signed guys, that was he going to keep Vincent Desharnais? Vincent Desharnais got $4 million. Good for him, but it's kind of surprising also. So I think it just happened at the wrong time for Greer, but now let's see how he handles the extensions. Is he going to be Kent Hughes?
Yeah. Or
is he going to be throwing money like, Santa Claus?
Oh, remains to be seen. But staying on the Sharks, and it's kind of a broader topic as well, but I'd like to ask your thoughts on this. The no trade clauses is puzzling sometimes. And you look at what the Sharks did specifically with Trouba. He's got a full no trade for the first 2 years of his contract. Then it turns into a 16-team no trade. this offseason specifically, we've seen a ton of examples of those no trade clauses firing back, biting the team in the ass, essentially, and giving all the power to the players. So if anything does go wrong in that contract or with the player and the team is in a very precarious position. Why do they hand out so many no trades?
Yeah, especially I can understand handing a no trade clause, to, I don't know, Lane Hudson or Nathan McKinnon,
not a problem.
Guys like that. It's not a problem because you don't want to trade them anyway. But Michael McCarron is getting a free clause. AJ Greer is getting a no trade clause.
Brandon Duhaime got a no trade clause.
Brandon Duhaime. Yeah.
Come on.
With Trouba, I think the 16-team no trade clause in 2 years is not is not bad. Because at that point there might be a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
Willing to take on his salary to reach the floor. So we'll see. Look, I just don't get it. I just don't get it why they hand out these no trade clauses. I mean, is it really a deal breaker? Like Brendan Duhaime's agent said, well, some other team is offering the same money, but they're also offering a no trade clause. Can you match this? Well, you know what my answer would be? No.
Yeah. Oh, Snake, I don't understand how teams can see what's happened this offseason and not learn from it. Anyways, credit to the agents. Credit to the agents who are, maneuvering and negotiating and giving the power to the players. For a long time, the players had no power. So now it's kind of about finding the line, right? Right now, they may have a little too much. I think with time, we'll get back to the mean here. But in the time being, it's a little puzzling to see some of these deals.
We say that every year. Every year, especially with a weak free agent crop. But imagine a parallel world, where basically owners wouldn't meddle.
What a concept.
Yeah. No one would care about what fans think, selling tickets or TV ratings. And GMs had a 10-year contract. Would be probably very different. But nowadays, this is a job where how long can you last, really? 4 or 5 years, unless you win, like Julien Brisebois and guys like that. You're going to last for 5 years. You might have one chance to be a GM in this league. Unless you win, Ken Holland, Stan Bowman. But in general, you might get a second chance like Kyle Dubas did.
Yeah.
But in general, you cannot count on this. So you have one chance. You have 3, 4, 5 years max. What are you going to do? You see, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to give this guy a 7-year contract. Chances are in 7 years I won't be there. And if I'm still there, it means that I have won probably something. Or I have been very close to winning. So that's probably the reasoning. Because you and I watch this, from a very methodical eye. And this is pretty much what Kent Hughes is doing when you think about it. That's his fifth summer leading the Montreal Canadiens. And you can't really say that he made some silly mistakes. I mean, his track record is not perfect. No GM's track record is perfect. There are some trades that didn't age well, like Kirby Dach, for instance. But when you're talking like silly mistakes with contracts, I don't see any.
No.
So
some will say, "Oh, he signed Texier too soon," or
I'm not
Matheson.
Crazy about,
what was he doing with Matheson? Whoa.
I'm not crazy about these contracts, honestly, but they're not.
It's not egregious.
No. And that's why I say I would say the same thing about the Sharks. Aside from the 4th year that I mentioned for Trouba and Nurse, so far it's not a big deal. It's not. They didn't jeopardize their future. They didn't jeopardize their future the way some teams did.
So let's keep going then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking at these big contracts, Snake, these are the biggest that have been signed
Yes.
thus far. Any other names that stand out to you?
Well, Bobrovsky for 3 years in Toronto. 3 years. It's quite a bit. I thought
he's going to be
this guy-
38 before the start of next season.
I thought this guy was going to be on a year-by-year basis, in terms of signing.
Yeah.
The Tyson Forster, I think for a tough guy who can score who's just 24, I like the extension if he stays away from the injured list. Carson, I think, is not what he used to be, but it's only 2 years. Oleksiak, 2 years. Arvidsson, I like Arvidsson. He was good in Boston, and he's a useful player. But those Detroit Red Wings.
What are you doing?
This is patch-up work, summer after summer after summer. Always patching up holes. Nashville, we only see one contract. We don't see the contracts here. But Nashville signed or traded for a lot of smallish forwards, I find.
Yeah.
A lot of smallish forwards. I don't really get it. I think in a nutshell, they are good players. But as a whole, do you want that many small forwards? Not too sure. Alex Kerfoot. I like Alex Kerfoot, but, combined with the other small players that they got, not so sure. Let's talk about Barrett Hayton. Oh, boy. This is a funny one.
Offer sheet.
Yeah,
Yes.
for 1 year. So the situation it creates is that if it gets matched by Utah, they cannot trade him during the season.
Correct.
So basically, they're walking him to free agency. So I think this is what Sonny Mehta is gambling on. He's thinking, okay, they're going to take the second round pick instead of losing him for nothing next year. Because if they do sign him, he's gone. He's as good as gone. Well, they can re-sign him, obviously. But he's as good as gone in terms of trade value. They cannot trade him in March. And so that's an interesting move. I think they need that kind of centerman in New Jersey. So it's creative. Let's call it creative. Okay? And I like these things because the offer sheet is a tool that it's not used enough.
Agreed.
And it doesn't need to be used for a superstar to whom you're going to offer 7 years and the team is going to match. And, no, in this case, it is very creative. It's a 1 year thing, and otherwise they lose him to free agency. So that's one thing. Other contracts, I think the ones that I see now, it's not too long in general. Ryan Shayne, $4 million, 5 years. I'm okay with. I like what the Oilers did, really. It's the first time that I'm going to praise Stan Bowman in quite a while for what he did. Shea for $4 million is good. And they get rid of Nurse, the whole contract, and they get Makam And then they get a goalie also in Edmonton.
Devin Levi.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. He's been touted as a big-time prospect. Maybe he was thrown to the Wolves a little bit too early. Maybe he would have needed more seasoning in college and especially the American Hockey League. I think these contracts are fine. Roslovich, $4 million, 2 years. This is nothing. This is a drop in the ocean when you think about it. 3.7% of the cap for 2 years. These guys are going to score 20 goals. It's okay. It's like it's kind of like bargain bin flea market shopping. You never know.
That's usually what
you never knew what you can get. Yeah.
That's typically what free agency is. Snake, you mentioned the Nashville Predators, and they're an interesting team because Chris McFarland, the new GM, has been quite active so far this offseason. And you mentioned that they made a move there. They acquire Maverick Bourque and Ilya Lyubushkin from the Dallas Stars in exchange for a second and a third. What did you make of that deal and overall where the Nashville Predators are heading?
Well, I think on the Dallas point of view, I think they probably wanted to retain Bourque, but they need cap space just to re-sign Robertson.
Yeah.
In terms of Nashville, like I say, every move, when analyzed individually, is good. But as a whole, I think that's too many small forwards. So it's weird. But they also got a big guy from Colorado, Ross Colton.
Jack Drury.
Let's see how it's going to... You remember how Barry Trotz revamped the team 2 years ago with all these high-pricing free agents? This time, I think for Nashville, it's just a new GM putting his stamp on the team. Let's see how this whole thing gels together. I doubt that they're going to be a contender. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. But individually, they got some decent players.
As we are recording this, it is a little past 11:30 a.m. on July 2nd, and a trade just broke, Snake.
Oh,
so
okay.
Again, every show we've done in the last 3 weeks,
that's good.
We've had things that come around as we are recording. So the Calgary Flames are sending Blake Coleman and Oli Mata to the Minnesota Wild. In exchange, Calgary gets Jake Middleton and picks. We don't know yet what the picks are.
Yeah.
But that's a trade. So Blake Coleman is off the board.
Well, I hope they get at least a second-round pick for Blake Coleman because I think he is useful, reasonable contract. And this is a player that I thought the Habs could target. Although he's in his 30s now, I think he can be useful.
34.
34. He can score goals, and he's a tough guy. Minnesota is looking for that type of player, as we know. Oli Mata, he's depth. He's a depth defenseman. He used to be more, he was a first-round pick, and he had a long career, but unspectacular, but long career. Played for a few teams. At the other end, Middleton, depth defenseman, or I would say, but let's see what the picks are. Calgary is really rebuilding.
Keep an eye on that for you.
They're going to have a new arena next year in 2027, and I think they're hoping that some of their recent draft picks are part of the team. And they're going to team that we're going to be following on that show for the next few years. So far, I kind of like what they did, but they didn't get lottery luck, where they could get like a Stanberg or a player like that, a Celebrini. But they're gathering nice young talent. Nice young talent. But they're a few years away, obviously.
Of course, and I think, they're not expecting to be good anytime soon. So maybe a few more years here of potential luck in the lottery. It might just get a Nazar Privalov or Alexis Joseph this year, and there you go.
You never know.
You're on your way. But
it's like they're too good. It's like they're too good to bottom out. Although now we're expecting, that the Sharks are out of the rebuild, but there's Vancouver. Vancouver's not going to be very good. Rangers, we'll see. I think they're going to. They can be worse than last year. Toronto, I think, is going to be better because at some point it's like the guys gave up. So I don't think Toronto is going to make the playoffs, but they made quite a few moves.
Quite a few.
Bobrovsky.
Snake, I mean, the Bobrovsky thing we've mentioned. A lot of depth moves, right? Like, little tweaks here and there. But one that caught my eye, Snake, was actually a trade. And we'll bring this up right now. So they get Nick Paul in exchange for Dennis Heldeby, a 2027 fourth and a 2028 third. Now, it makes sense to trade Heldeby if you're signing Bobrovsky. You're going to have the tandem with Anthony Stolarz. Heldeby is now going to be waiver eligible, so he won't be exempt anymore. Means they would probably have lost him for nothing. And they get Nick Paul in return. Snake, I think this is great work by John Chayka.
Yeah. Nick Paul, I think, still has gas in the tank left. He's the type of player that you want for the playoffs. He's proven it in the past. And he has a reasonable contract considering now how much these guys are paid. So, that is a nice bottom six move by Toronto. I think with Toronto, you can't look at... They made so many moves. You can't look at these moves on an individual basis. I think you have to see it as a whole. What's in, what's out, and see how it goes next year.
Yeah.
But I don't want to defend Jacob because I'm not as big a fan as a GM. But what I realized this year is that there's no secret sauce to basically catapult your team to the top of the standings. You have to build very slowly with the draft, if possible. You have to get a little bit of lottery luck. These guys have to
this year.
These guys have to develop well, but it's a long process. I remember Bill Armstrong saying that it's 7 to 10 years when you think about it from the moment you bottom out. So if you're trying to take shortcuts, chances are you're going to move up a little bit faster. You're going to climb up the standings a little bit faster. But at some point, you're going to reach a plateau, and that plateau is not going to be the Stanley Cup. But again, if you go for the 7 to 10 year rebuild before being a serious Stanley Cup contender, there's also a risk that all these prospects don't pan out. So when you get a top 3 pick, or this guy better not bomb.
Yeah, he's got to hit.
Oh boy, oh yeah, he's got to hit. And then you have to finish it up properly. And then it's not easy because the players you want, the teams that have them, they're going to keep them. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was talking about the Sharks. Yeah, they get through by Nurse. It's not ideal. What other options were there? Except, trade the farm for Werenski. So, and Werenski is staying anyway. So,
what a development that was.
Yeah. That's I don't know what happened, but he's still going to be a free agent soon.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that he's going to stay in Columbus forever. I think Columbus is not a bad team, but they're sort of running on a treadmill because they never got these star picks, if you know what I mean. They passed on Demidov a couple of years ago. That was their chance. They take Caitlin Lindstrom. That's going to hurt. This one's going to hurt. I mean, if and you know what? No one liked the pick at number 4 that evening. No one did. I don't think there's one draft analyst that said, "Oh, that's a great move by Columbus, taking Caitlin Lindstrom to pass on Demidov. Great move." No, I don't think anyone said that. But I tell you, if I were Columbus's owner, I would do like a forensic examination of this pick. And I would say, guys, I would interview everyone in the room and I would say, what happened? What was the reasoning? Teams do that.
They should.
At some point. Yeah, teams do it. Well, and at some point, they try and figure out who the culprit or culprits are.
Yeah.
And these guys' jobs could be in jeopardy unless they have a very, very good reasoning to back it up. Because I know one can always say that Lindstrom was injured. Yeah, he was injured, but he was also injured before he was selected.
Look, I really wish the best for this kid. He's obviously been through a lot, and I hope it pans out for him and the Blue Jackets. But
he's in college
wow,
now.
How can you even justify that one? Anyways, Columbus made their bed there. It's their own doing. And so now they have to figure it out. And clearly there's internal turmoil within that team for Werenski to have these discussions with Don Waddell to discuss his future and for it to get public. And then Don Waddell trading him to Dallas and then him nixing the trade and all of that getting public. And then what about Marchenko? There's just so much weird stuff going on in Columbus. I'm very curious to see how they're going to salvage this, if they can salvage it, because they also have to sign Adam Fantilli, who is currently an RFA. How does he feel right now? I mean,
yeah, but what are his options? I mean, take an offer sheet. The problem with the offer sheet, if someone offers him 7 years, let's say, and he accepts it, and Columbus matches, he's there for 7 years. Mm-hmm. So I think if I were Fantilli's agent,
short term,
and if I didn't want to stay in Columbus, I would say, okay, get me out of here with maybe a 2-year contract, but with some kind of restrictions that could really, really make this hard for the team to match. Look, players are tied to their original team for 7 seasons. Mm-hmm. then they can do whatever they want. McDavid chose to stay an extra few years because really he's been there for 11 seasons and he's going to be there for 2 more. That's 13 seasons. So basically he chose to be in Edmonton for 6 additional seasons. But players can leave after 7 years. Usually stars don't. Superstar players don't usually. No.
No, that's it. Snake, of the moves let's talk about the signings first. Of the signings that have happened thus far,
yes,
which ones are your favorites?
Oof, that's a tough
or they're
one.
all just like, fine.
That's a tough one. I mean, if you want to put back the list up again, look, I would say, considering the prices right now, well, first of all, it's Demidov, obviously, okay? But we're talking about unrestricted free agents here. Because my favorite signing, Demidov, by a million years, followed by Nico Hischier. I think Nico Hischier is fair at 11.7. As for the unrestricted free agents, you have to go to the next page probably. Oh, man. None, really.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
See,
none.
That was going to be my answer as well.
Yeah, none.
There haven't really been any moves or signings that you're like, oh, wow.
No.
That's a steal. Like, that's really good. Everybody got fair value or maybe a little more.
Exactly.
So at the moment, I mean, it's kind of hard to pinpoint a winner or a loser.
It depends on the team's needs also.
Overpaid.
It depends on the team's needs. Because some players have more value for certain things. Jacob Trouba has more value for the Sharks than he would, let's say, for the Buffalo Sabres.
No doubt about that.
You see my point?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have to consider this, but no, I'm not enthusiastic about it. I knew it was going to be like, I wouldn't call it a boring day, but I knew I wouldn't get excited about any of the signings. Mm-hmm. But some others are worse than others.
And the signings are not done yet because I'm going to round off the list of remaining free agents. Okay. Alex Ovechkin, Anthony Mantha, Patrick Kane, Claude Giroux, Vladimir Tarasenko, Jamie Benn, Eli Tolvanen, James Van Riemsdyk, Michael Bunting, David Perron, Riley Smith, Adam Henrique, Tyson Jost, Philip Kurashev, and Oster Sundqvist are some of the forwards still available. Any names that catch your attention?
Well, the one that I'm surprised is still on the board is Mantha because he had a very good season in Pittsburgh. But he's probably asking for more term and money than teams are willing to give.
Yeah.
Because I think on our last show when we previewed the free agency market, we talked about Mantha and said that, this guy's career has been really up and down. So you never know. A 30-goal Mantha could become 15-goal Mantha within a year or two. You never know. So any other player that I would be interested in, probably Tolvanen.
Yeah, I like that.
Short, maybe a couple of years, 2 years. He's not too old. I would probably go 2-3 years for Tolvanen, but I wouldn't bring the bank for him. Logan Stanley was such in demand at the trade deadline, and his stock really, really fell by the fact that he barely played in the playoffs for Buffalo. So that's kind of surprising. Guys like Klingberg, they're going to find someone who needs a puck mover desperately, maybe for a minimum contract. I think he's past his prime. He had decent moments in San Jose last year, but really, defensively, he's not very strong. Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane, I think, will choose where he goes in the sense that, okay, it's going to be a one-year contract. Where does he want to go? Maybe Colorado will want to sign him. Who knows? Some contending team might want to give him a chance to win another cup. He's still good. Not what he used to be, but he's still good. Claude Giroux, I think, his career is coming to an end. So maybe he'll get another contract, one more year. Tarasenko wasn't bad when you think about it, but I think Tarasenko, I think he's not, and I'm not talking about personality, I'm talking about the way he plays. I don't think he's a well-liked player by teams.
Really?
Well, his value is never very high.
I've actually heard the opposite. I've heard that
why
he
isn't he
is
signed yet?
multitude of reasons, right? It
Yeah.
could be that he's asking for too much
Yeah.
money, or he's weighing out his options, right? But I've actually heard that he's like a fantastic teammate. He is well loved.
No, I'm not debating.
Oh, okay.
I didn't talk about his character.
Yeah,
I didn't talk about his character. I think in terms of on the ice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Teams are not rushing to trade for Tarasenko or give up a lot for Tarasenko, and it's been like that for years. And I think he's still a good player.
Oh, clearly he showed it last season.
That's what I mean. He could be an interesting player, and if you say that he's a great teammate, that's a plus.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant. Michael Bunting, as a bottom six player. Do you think the Habs will dip into this now that the frenzy is over?
I think they'll snag at least one.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pinpoint a name, really. Like there's a lot of options, but none that really stand out. Like, yeah, that would be a great fit. And Snake, you mentioned a few of the defensemen, right? That it's very thin. Like if you're hoping for a defenseman, there's Andrew Peeke, there's Logan Stanley, there's Carson Soucy, there's Matt Grzelcyk, Nick Blankenberg, and John Klingberg are pretty much the top defensemen available.
Yeah.
And then in goalies, there's
Grzelcyk
Cam Talbot,
yeah.
There's Connor Ingram, David Riddick, James Reimer, Peter Mrazek, and Matt Murray. So teams hoping for a goalie, there's still some options. But again, at date number 2, you never get big time
goalies. Their names. These guys, they're familiar names, but they're all on the wrong side of 30.
Mm-hmm.
They had all of them had flashes, at least, of being very good. Matt Murray won cups in Pittsburgh, but overall, do you really trust any of these guys to be your number 2? So that's why I always said that Dobesh Fowler, the Habs should hold on to that tandem for a while.
Yeah,
I wouldn't rush to trade any of the two because I don't care if they're young. You have to have 2 efficient goalies. And as long as you have 2 efficient goalies, I don't care how old they are. Because the option is to sign basically a 30-something, a Mrazek, let's say, who can be good for 1 year, bad the other year, then good for half a season. Then the wheels fall off the cart. I mean, you can't trust these guys. Yeah. Defenseman, Grzelcyk is not bad if you're looking for kind of an offensive defenseman. But remember last year, Grzelcyk, it was the same thing. He stayed on the board for weeks and weeks before he was signed. So you see what I mean? I think there are players for some reason that are not well liked by teams. This is what I mean by not well liked. And some other players, the minute they reach free agency, boom, someone signs them after 2 minutes. And you're sort of wondering why this guy but not this guy. Do you see my reasoning on this? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
it's going to be something to keep an eye on, Snake. But we've got a lot more to talk about, many trades, and potentially what could happen down the road. But before we get to all of that, a quick word from our partners, Cheapest T-shirts.
Stop overpaying. Buying t-shirts, hoodies, or blank apparel. Same brands, same products. Lower prices. No minimums. Buy 1 or 1,000, same price. Fast Canada shipping. Multiple warehouses. Stop overpaying. Visit cheapesttshirts.ca.
We thank Cheapest T-shirts a ton for their partnerships with us this year. Looking forward to working with them again in the upcoming season. And of course, a final shout out to our friends over at Betway. If you want to get some money a little bit from the World Cup, you feel like you know who's going to win, well, go over to Betway and bet the beauties there. And you can get a deposit match-up bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. Snake, we already mentioned the Darnell Nurse trade. We mentioned the Nick Paul trade. We mentioned the Maverick Book trade. But there's a lot more to get through, and one of which is a player that I thought the Habs should be in on, but he decided to go to Utah.
Yeah.
Vincent Trocheck is now a member of the Mammoth. In return, the New York Rangers received defenseman Sean Durzi, forward prospect Cole Baudouin, and a 2027 conditional third-round pick. What'd you make of this deal?
I thought either Trocheck was worth more, or the Rangers didn't accept the right offer, or Trocheck, only wanted to go to one or two teams, because I think it's an underwhelming return. I mean, Dursey is fine; he's an NHL defenseman, but I don't know what I don't know why teams are so enthusiastic about Cole Baudouin. I mean, I know, he's sort of a guy that people fall in love with when they see him at, World Juniors, and I don't know. This guy to me is so underwhelming as a former first round pick, this Baudouin guy. I don't get the excitement. Bottom six player might not even play in the NHL. Who knows? I thought the Rangers were going to get more, but there's probably an explanation to this.
I think, Snake, it's this craze with power forwards, right?
Yeah.
You look at the upside, you see a big forward who can get physical and maybe put up some points, and teams get excited about that. Certain times it's worth getting excited about. Maybe others not so much. But maybe that's the reason why it boosted his value. But good on the Utah Mammoth. I mean, Vincent Trocheck is a heck of a get, especially if they lose Barrett Hayton here. So that down the middle, I mean, Logan Cooley, Vincent Trocheck, who knows if Nick Schmaltz is more of a winger or a center, but Utah's doing well. I like it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is and I hope they just take the second round pick for their Barrett Hayton.
They should.
I
think they will.
That was a bad pick at number 5 from the start. So just let him go. This Trocheck trade is the kind of trade that will make fans of a given team say, couldn't we offer more? Really? So I don't know what the Habs could have offered. If they made an offer, but or maybe that's not what the Rangers were looking for. Maybe they value Cole Baudouin quite a bit. Prospects are valued differently by organizations.
Yeah,
and maybe Cole Baudouin is the price of that trade. But to me, it's underwhelming return for New York.
Snake, we have developments on the trade that we broke earlier today. Blake Coleman and Oli Mata. So the Flames retain 50% of Coleman's salary.
Good.
And the picks they get, 2029 second, 2027 third, 2028 fourth. So a second, third, fourth, and middle.
They get the second round pick
for Coleman.
However, this is a guy who probably won't play for them before 2032 or 33. This second round pick. I mean, but there was a trade involving a first round pick, that was kind of mind-boggling. The 2030 first round pick yesterday that was traded.
Well, it's the New York Rangers yet again.
Yeah.
They get Marcus Pettersson for the 2030 first round pick conditional. Break this one down.
Top 10. Yeah. Top 10 protected.
Yeah. I would hope so.
Okay. Vancouver did well by trading Pettersson.
Yeah.
They are rebuilding. He has a good contract. And I think New York did well in this trade, for themselves. I think they're getting a good defenseman. I don't like the trade for Vancouver, and I'll tell you why. I like the idea of the first round pick. I like the idea that it's 2030 also, because you never know what can happen. Sam Pollock used to make these trades in the 70s for the Montreal Canadiens. And that's how they got the first pick overall in 1980. It was a pick that they obtained 4 years earlier, which is, a similar situation to this one. And obviously it's a moot point if the Rangers don't get a top 10 pick. But if they do get a top 10 pick, why the heck did Vancouver agree for this pick to be protected?
I feel like it's the Rangers that are kind of pushing, because they saw what happened with Toronto and Brandon Carlo and all that, and they're like, oh, well, let's avoid that situation.
Look, had I been Vancouver, I don't even know who's going to be available in 2030 because these kids are like 14 years old right now. But I would have agreed maybe to a trade protection of maybe top 1, top 2, but not top 10. Not top 10. Not top 10. But we'll see. Look, when we revisit this in 4 years, if the Rangers get the 16th pick or even the 11th pick overall, it's a moot point.
Yeah.
And that trade will be what it is. But if it's a top 10 pick, I don't understand why Vancouver would agree for trade protection for a pick 4 years down the road. 4 years.
Well, Snake, the New York Rangers were not done. Okay, so they acquired a defenseman, but they did trade one in Will Borgen to the Boston Bruins in exchange for a 2027 second round pick and a conditional 2028 third. What'd you make of this one?
Well, that's a good return because Borgen is a depth defenseman. Prices are weird sometimes, and it goes to show you how much teams value certain players. Will Borgen, if you ask me, and you're telling me he was traded, I would have said, okay, what did they give? A 4th round pick? They give a 2 and a 3. So very good return for the Rangers in this case. Very good return. So for the Rangers right now, I think two good trades and one underwhelming one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. But at least they're active. You know what? They recognize that last season was unacceptable and they need to make some changes. So
exactly.
Good on them for that. All right, next up. A Robertson was dealt, but not the right one. Nick Robertson is taking his car over to the Pittsburgh Penguins. In exchange, the Toronto Maple Leafs get a 2028 4th round pick.
Yeah, I think Dubas was there when they drafted Robertson a few years ago.
Correct.
And he was supposed to be one of their good young players supporting the Matthews, Nylander and company. Didn't really pan out. So it's just a reclamation project, I think, from a guy who knows the player very well.
Could this be a precedent for his brother? Do you think the Pittsburgh Penguins will make an offer to the Dallas Stars and say, hey, we'd like to reunite the brothers here in Pittsburgh? They have the capital to trade for Jason Robertson.
It's because I don't really know where Pittsburgh is going, what direction they're taking.
It's interesting.
So even with Robertson, they're not going to be contending this year. And after Crosby and company are gone, where does Robertson stand, when he's going to be like a 30-something player? So I doubt it, but it depends on how... depends on what their goal is. Pittsburgh, I can't figure them out, really.
I think there's a vision here, and we'll see it in due time. But in the moment, I mean, whatever.
You have to look at the big picture with teams. Yeah, it's like the Rangers. If you take the moves like in a nutshell, and you analyze them, it's not as good as putting them all together and seeing the team picture and say, okay, this guy's in, this guy's out. I think I mentioned it earlier in the show.
There we go.
Any last other trade? Yeah.
Last trade I'd like to bring up, Snake, is a minor deal, but one that leads to a broader discussion.
Yes.
Keegan Colasar is going to Detroit. In exchange, the Vegas Golden Knights receive a 2027 7th round pick and a 2029 third. The reason I say this leads to a broader discussion is because we're going to have to talk about Vegas's cap structure.
Yes.
At the moment, they are $8.6 million over the cap. Now, Alex Petrangelo's cap relief will come in. That's $8.8 million, however. So they're only going to be about $200,000 under the cap. More moves to come clearly from Vegas, but this was the first one of probably many.
Yeah, Colasar was an original player.
An original misfit. That's right.
Yeah. He was, I think they got him in a trade with a team during the time of the expansion draft 9 years ago. and they signed him to a long-term contract, if I'm not mistaken. And he was another, he's a good contributor, this guy. He's another one of these unsung heroes. And I think it's good for Detroit. Although, like I say, when I look at the big picture in Detroit, I'm really not impressed. But this move is good. And yeah, Vegas is just clearing up cap space. We saw it. They let go of Dorofeyev.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oof, is there something else going on? Because
they'll have to.
Yeah, they'll have to, because their team is not as strong as it was last year. They might bring in Trevor Connolly, but Trevor Connolly is going to be a rookie. He's not gonna, he's not going to be a superstar right off the bat. Maybe they're clearing up space for another acquisition that we've been accustomed to with them. However,
Larkin?
Yeah, maybe. But again, they're going to have to send some contracts back.
Yeah.
Because like you say, even with the Peter Angelo relief, they pretty much broke even now. Yeah, they're at the cap. They're at the cap. So maybe that's something that's going to happen with the next 2 months with Vegas. I don't see them going into training camp or going into the season with that roster.
Who do you think could be a casualty on that team?
Oh boy, let me check their
because they have
cap situation.
They acquired and signed a ton of defensemen.
Yes,
like they're loaded on defense.
Well,
they're going to need help on forward, but they might just end up trading a forward to get that help.
Look, their defense core, I think, is fine. They re-signed Rasmus Anderson, I think, a little bit too long, a little bit too high, with that no movement clause, but still he's a good player. Theodore Heineken, Jeremy Lauzon, also good contract. Braden McNabb. So, they have a good they have a good defensive core. Now, at forward, who could be expendable? Could William Karlsson at 5.9 be let go? Mark Stone at 9.5, I don't think so. I think he's going to stay, although he's going to be a rental player very soon. So I think the logical choice to be traded is William Karlsson.
Mm-hmm.
And that they could get, if they trade for Dylan Larkin, they could fit in his salary.
So then my follow-up to that is, should Kent Hughes be on the phone with Kelly McCrimmon?
William Karlsson? Yeah. Wasn't he part of the trade targets that we talked about?
Correct, sir.
I think the thing with Karlsson is that the way you have to approach him, you have to approach him as a rental player, and if you want to re-sign him, not much term. You shouldn't give him much term.
33 years old. Yeah.
And look, an extra 2 years maybe, but maybe the guy is going to be looking for 4 or 5. So if he's looking for 5, would I go for him as a rental player for this season, considering the Habs needs? How we could play, on second line, because they still don't have a real second line center yet. Mm-hmm. Could be a stopgap before Michael Hage arrives.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for.
I would go for him, but depends on what the price is. I wouldn't give a top prospect for him.
Yeah.
Would I give away a first round pick? It's hard to tell. I would because the first round pick, who knows? It's going to be the 28 next year. It's going to be the 19 pick. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen from year to year.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful with this. And obviously, Vegas wouldn't take on any salary back.
No, that's it. It's ELCs, picks, or prospects.
It's going to be an ELC. It's going to be picks, prospects. Look, if they accept some guy, maybe from NCAA or... but that's something to explore. That is really something to explore. But... stay away from that first round pick next year unless you protected, I don't know, top 20 or so.
Yeah,
because like I say, it's hard to tell where the Habs are going to finish in the standings. The standings are so close. You can get 100 points and basically get the 20th pick overall. Think about it.
That's it.
So, and getting 100 points, the difference between getting 100 points and 110 points, let's say, it's 5 wins. And those 5 wins could be injuries. Could be bad goaltending for a while. So it's very tricky, and that's why these teams are protecting first round picks now. Heavily.
Understandably
Heavily
so.
protecting. They don't want a San Jose, Ottawa, Tim Stutzla situation.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a mess.
Yeah.
And Snake, I mean, Vegas is kind of in a bind, right? So they're not obviously going to get proper value for William Karlsson, especially since, like you mentioned, he's a rental player, 1 year left on his deal. I don't think it would cost that much. And as a stopgap, phenomenal. So more players. I mean, we mentioned Tomas Hertl could be an option as well. I think there's trade opportunities there. So for all Habs fans that are clamoring about making a move, that could be one. I've identified. Yes,
Hertl would be good because he has
Excellent.
4 years left, and I think he's still a very good player. But you have to give up more. But I would be willing to give up a little bit more for Thomas Hertl. Yeah,
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I've identified another trade partner, Snake, and I'll tell you why. Okay. I think Kent Hughes should get on the phone with Chris Patrick of the Washington Capitals. The Washington Capitals this offseason have acquired Alex Tucker. They've acquired Jordan Kyrou, right? They have Ilya Protas. They have the brother. They have Ryan Leonard. They signed Boone Jenner. They already have Anthony Beauvillier, Jordan Surdif, Ethan Frank, and they're probably going to re-sign Alex Ovechkin. What I'm getting at here is that they're loaded on offense, which means some players are going to get pushed aside. I think the Habs could swoop in here. And a player that I've thought about popped in my head yesterday. I don't know why. Ivan Miroshnichenko. Love saying that. Say it.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times fast.
Ivan Miroshnichenko. Yeah.
Poof! I disappeared. Okay. Ivan Miroshnichenko, his draft season, obviously got cancer, right? Slipped down the ranking because of that. But 6'1" winger, 22 years old, pushed aside in Washington. He's become a bit of a redundancy, especially considering the players that they've drafted recently.
Yeah.
Could that be an interesting buy low situation for the Habs?
I think so. I think this is you're wrapping it up in fashion, Shayne. This is very, very interesting. I've never heard that name before. I've never heard that name mentioned as a possible trade target, but I do understand that the Caps are really loading up. And no, Miroshnichenko now, he's a 9-minute per game player. And he's a former first-round pick.
20th overall.
They probably gave up on him because they don't see more than what they don't think he can give you more than he does right now. I don't think Miroshnichenko is necessarily going to become a star player, but I think he is a better player than what he's showing now because of the lack of ice time and good line mates. Yeah. What could he cost? Look, if they asked me for a second rounder, I would give it. I would give a second rounder for Miroshnichenko.
Yeah.
Now, does he solve the Habs situation at center? No. But he becomes another top 9 forward. Probably you start him off on the third line, and he can play hard, and he's also talented, and he's just 22 years old. So I do think he is a good, let's call him a bargain bin player right now.
Yeah.
And Hughes does this almost every year with these former first-round picks.
Connect the dots. I mean, his agent is Dan Milstein. We know the relationship there.
Well, he's the agent for most of the top Russian guys also.
Yeah.
We deal with him in Gatineau, and he's very good agent, by the way.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Absolutely.
Very good. Very nice guy too. Yeah.
Even if it's not Miroshnichenko, this is just a name I threw out. I think there's a trade possibility here with the Washington Capitals, considering the amount of depth and redundancy they have at forward, and considering that's what the Habs need, right? However, the Habs have a decent amount of depth on defense, and that's what Washington needs. So that's where I see a fit there as a trade partner. Maybe they could be interested in a Bryce Pickford, something along those lines. That's a type of player that they don't really have within the organization. So
that would make a lot of sense.
Throwing suggestions out there. We'll see where that lands. But Snake, for the last time this season, it's time to go digging in the mailbag. We have two great mailbag questions in the queue today, and the first one comes to us from Vanessa Chouinard saying, "Hey guys, thanks for the awesome podcast this year." Well, thank you, Vanessa. Like you and many others, I think the Sharks draft this year was exceptional, but it did come with a bit of luck by winning the lottery. Luck they didn't get in 2025 with Matthew Schaefer. My question is, in the Sharks rebuild, what would have been preferred? Ivar Stenberg, Keaton Verhoff, and Ryan Lynn, or Matthew Schaefer? Whoa! Great question, Vanessa.
Yeah, because you know what? All through the year and even last week, I was thinking, what would have happened had the Sharks drafted Matthew Schaefer? Well, obviously, it probably would have changed their season in the sense that I don't know if they would have made the playoffs, but they probably would not have gotten originally the 9th overall pick. They would not have won the second lottery. So it's very possible they would have gotten, I don't know, maybe the 11th, 12th pick overall. So there's many ways of seeing there's many possibilities here, but I'm going to stick to the one Vanessa suggested. My answer from the Sharks' point of view, Schaefer.
I agree.
I love Stenberg. I do think he's going to be a star. And maybe for another team that already has a great offensive defenseman, then the Verhoff, Lynn, Stenberg package would have been more interesting. But for most of the teams in the NHL, including the Sharks, just give me Schaefer.
That dynamic duo would have terrorized the league, Snake.
Especially, he plays a prime position, which means number one defenseman. And a number one defenseman is going to be more useful than a number one winger. Verhoff and Lynn, we don't know yet what they're going to turn out. I think they can be good, but not great players. Give me the superstar. Give me what I think is a future Hall of Famer. Man, it's early to say that because so many things can happen, but I think you get my point.
The way he's trending, Snake, I mean, it's hard not to say that Matthew Schaefer won't be a superstar for many, many years. So yeah, just imagining that in San Jose, terrifying. Terrifying. All right, next question, and the last one of the season belongs to Louis David Rondeau. I've always wondered why hockey people often consider a player who's 5'10" and 190 pounds to be undersized, while someone who's 6 foot and 200 pounds is often described as having good size. The difference seems pretty minor to me. And body weight isn't necessarily a good indicator of physical strength. Why do you think those 2 inches and 10 pounds make such a big difference in how players are perceived? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Snake.
Okay, first part of the answer, I think it's a psychological barrier, obviously. Because I know
the 6 in the front.
I think the 200, the 2, the 6 and the 2. I think it's a psychological barrier. I do think, it depends on the toughness of a player. Because I'm looking at a guy like Brad Marchand, for instance. What is he, 5'9"?
Something along those lines.
Whoever says that Brad Marchand is a short player.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. And there are guys who are like 6'1" and 190 pounds that will not be considered strong or tough. And I think this is usually, you get to see this at the combine when you meet the players. I see it all the time because when we draft midget AAA players, they're 15, 16 years old at the time. So obviously they're not fully developed. But you look at the frame. And there are players who, although they're like 6'3" and 200 pounds or 195 pounds, you don't see them necessarily as strong yet. And there are some other guys who are more stocky, could be 5'10", 185, and they're basically like a wrecking ball. But I think that for someone who just analyzes the rosters, the stats, it's a psychological barrier. But it depends. That's why you have to meet with the guys. You have to see how strong they are. You have to project also. There's a lot of projection with junior players. So you look at the father usually. If the father, it's like White Cullen. He was 5'5", 120. I don't think there was any doubt that this guy, was going to become much taller and stronger at some point. But it's weird. It's weird because sometimes you will get a guy who's like 5'11", and then he goes to the combine and he's at 6 foot tall, and all of a sudden now he's a big guy. Now and at 5'11", he's a small forward. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
It's about play style. To me, that's why I always say get players who play big. Exactly. Your Brad Marchand example is fantastic. Take a guy like Brendan Gallagher, right? Plays big, even though in a smaller frame. And then you take, I'm sorry to point him out, but Patrick Laine, who's 6'4", does not play big, even though he is big, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the distinction that we have to make here. But yes, to the questioner's point here, too often we hear, oh, he's a small player. He's a small player because he's in a typically tinier frame.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean he plays small. There's the distinction.
Exactly.
Snake, we've done it. Our first season in the books, my friend. What a season it was.
81 shows, I think we did. Something like that.
Wow.
Lots of hours. Man. Yeah, lots of hours of content. I wouldn't thank the listeners. I know it's a cliche, but I do think that the listeners have been great because there was a lot of interaction on our YouTube page. Lots of fantastic questions. Things that I had never thought of. Things that like throw in my face, some of the contradictions I might have when we do these podcasts. Because one day I can say something, 2 months later I say the opposite. But really, there's a reasoning behind this that I don't realize. But listeners, they do listen, they do remember. So it was a pleasure working with you guys at the SIG Podcast and with you, Shayne. I think it was a great rookie season for us as a team. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I'm 35 years older than you, but I even if I were your dad, I would be an old dad.
Hey, listen.
But we had lots of fun. Yeah, we had lots of fun and. Let's reconnect in September and rookie camp. Always new prospects, new things to talk about, new trades, new signings. It's a bottomless pit of topics, this NHL thing. And I'm glad that most of the action took place before we wrap it up. Free agents have been signed. We're going to have trades this summer, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think the major part of the business was dealt with. The last 2 weeks of June are very, very exciting for hockey fans and draft analysts or podcasters, because we get so much content. We could do these 3-4 hour shows during that time of the year.
Snake, I thoroughly enjoyed my time working on this show. I cannot wait for next season. Can't wait to see what the future holds for the SIG Podcast as a whole. All right. The network is expanding. We have a studio now. I mean, things are in motion and it's really exciting. So thank you all for tuning in all season long. It's meant a lot to us, and the interactions, right? We rely heavily on our viewers. And you did not disappoint, okay? The questions, the topic recommendations, the chat, everything was on point. Excellent. Can't ask for better. And it can't ask for a better co-host, Snake. Genuinely loved our interactions, loved talking with you. I learned a ton this season as well. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank producer Jimmy for being along with us since the beginning. Thanking the Cavaleros as well, and Yellow, Sammy, and Juliana. Happy birthday to Juliana, by the way, for believing in us and this show, making it happen. We've grown a ton. I think the product has been better along the way, and it's only going to get better. So again, like I said, this is not goodbye. This is only see you later. We're back end of August, early September. Have not pinpointed a date yet, but you can follow us on all social media platforms, and we will keep you updated on all of that. Snake, I leave you with the final word.
Have a great summer, everybody. It's very warm today. So jump in the lake, jump in the pool if you have the opportunity. That's what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm getting ready for training camp August 15th in Princeville, junior AAA hockey. And so, you know, the next season is around the corner. Gatineau training camp. I mean, yeah, let's keep it going.
All right. For Simon the Snake Boisvert, I'm producer Shayne. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.